Let's go ahead and start this quick lesson, really what you need to know as you're writing this down. P is a distance that really shapes the parabola, and we're going to talk about more with the letter P in a moment, but remember P can be positive or negative. Let's go ahead and get started, and remember that parabolas only have one squared variable. So let's go ahead and sketch an X and Y axis. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exact. We're just going to talk about some properties. So we're going to draw a positive vertical parabola. We got a vertex down there, and then here's where P comes into play. So inside the parabola is something called a focus, and you may have heard of that before. And we also have something called the latus rectum. I also call it the official width. And then we also have something called a directrix. And I'm calling the directrix, well, I actually drew it as a dashed line because it's not really part of the graph, but it is there to help shape the graph. All right, here's where the p-value comes into play right after I draw that vertical, which is called the axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex. All right, here we go. So the distance from the focus to the vertex and the distance from the vertex to the directrix is a value we call P. And P also occurs in the official width, and that is 4 times the p-value. So we don't have to guess to find P. It's actually quite simple. It is the reciprocal of the A value. So if A is a fraction, it is going to be at the bottom. Now remember, the A value is the reciprocal of P, and it's always 4P. Now LR, which I call the official width, LR is a distance and it measures, so it's always positive. All right, let's actually put in some numbers here. Let's look at an actual equation. Okay, please go ahead and remember the vertex before we begin. It's HK, like we always knew. Now, another thing to remember is that the focus is P away, P distance away from the vertex. Also remember that the focus is always inside the curve, inside the parabola. So those are 2 characteristics. Let's also talk about LR. LR is so easy to find. It is 4 times the p-value. And the LR, the official width, always goes through the focus. So if I measured from the left to the right or from the top to the bottom, it always goes through the focus. One more thing is the directrix. The directrix is always outside of the parabola. And remember, it's p places, p distance away, and it's outside of the parabola. And it's p places away from the vertex, I should say. All right, here's example 1. I'm going to try to go quickly. If you need to pause at any time, go ahead and pause. We are going to look at a vertical parabola, and you know a vertical parabola is going to be vertical if the x value is squared. So let's write down this equation. We're going to make sure that our x value is squared. So that is a -1/4 outside of x plus 2 squared minus 3. Now just remember, this is called vertex form. We're in a conics unit, so I'd like to also show you the conic form. So look, I wrote a plus 3 right there. That plus 3 came from the other side of the equal sign. And that -4, that is the reciprocal of the A value, which is -1/4. And the x plus 2 squared stays there. That's called conic form. We'll talk more about that later. All right, let's go ahead and start identifying the vertex. We know the vertex is -2, +3. I'm sorry, -2, -3. Remember, our focus is P places away. And we are it's so easy to find the p-value because it's in the denominator of the A value. So remember, 1/4p, whatever that denominator is, you just divide that denominator by 4, and that's going to get you the p-value. 4 divided by 4 is going to be a 1. It's a negative 1 because the parabola opens down. So as you notice, before I continue here, let's just go ahead and take a look at my focus. My focus is -2, -4. I know the parabola opens down because the A value is negative. So if the vertex is at -2, -3, and the focus is always inside the parabola, the focus is going to be one place down because that curve opens down. Now let's talk about the axis of symmetry. For the axis of symmetry, it is always going to be whatever is inside the parentheses. X equals -2. It is always the opposite of inside the parentheses. The directrix, if the directrix is going to be outside, and remember it's P places away, so the directrix is going to be a horizontal line at y equals -2, one place above the parabola. The LR, so easy to find. It is just the denominator of the A value. But remember, it is positive because it measures a distance. All right, let's go ahead and sketch this. Now, remember, we are drawing a sketch. So I'm going to say the vertex is right there at -2, -3. Notice I drew my focus, what I estimated to be one place down. Notice I drew my directrix, which is one place up. And now what I'm going to do is draw the axis of symmetry, which always goes through the points of the vertex and the focus. Now, the official width, the LR. Remember, the LR is 4 places in total. So that's going to be 2 places to the left, 2 places to the right. And the vertex connects through the official LR. And that's how we're going to graph that. Let's take a look at one more example. This is going to be a horizontal parabola. So watch. We're going to have y squared here. So x is going to equal, I have an A value of 1/16. In parentheses is y minus 2 squared, and then plus 4. I'm going to go ahead and write this in conic form just so you have more exposure to it. And remember the y minus 2, that does not change over there on the right side. All right, let's go ahead and start identifying some characteristics. Now look, x equals, this is going to be a sideways parabola. My A value is positive, so I know that this parabola is going to open up to the right. So let's go ahead and talk about the vertex. The vertex is going to be +4, +2. Now let's talk about the p-value. The denominator is 16. 16 divided by 4, my p-value is just simply 4. Just take that denominator, divide it by 4, there you go. And we are going to say the p-value is positive because this is a positive parabola. The A value is positive, so the p-value is positive. So remember, the focus is going to be inside the parabola. It's going to be further to the right on the x-axis because it opens to the right. And let's go ahead and sketch it. Now remember, I am going a little bit fast. If you need to pause it to write down those characteristics, go ahead and do so. All right, now remember, I know it opens to the right, so I drew my y-axis a little farther to the left of my sketch. Just going to go ahead and draw that directrix, which just happens to be on the y-axis. Remember, your axis of symmetry goes straight through both those points. Okay, here we go with the official width, the LR. So it's 8 places above, 8 places below. That's going to give me a total of 16. And remember, that graph just always goes through the LR. And that's how we do a horizontal parabola. So I'm going to give you one more. Please try this one. So example 3, this is going to be just something to try. Please show the conic form, the vertex. Don't forget about how important the p-value is. The focus, the axis of symmetry, the directrix. We can just call the directrix D, and then the LR. Please do graph it. And I'll just kind of set up a shape for you. This graph is going to open to the left, so I'm going to scoot that y-axis over to the right to give myself enough room. And that's it.